Hello everyone, and thanks for watching Edupedia World videos. The present chapter is entitled Different Economic Systems. In this chapter, we are going to discover the classification of economic systems, which are the command economy, the free market economy, and the mixed economy. So, let's get started. In fact, all societies face the problem of scarcity. They differ considerably, however, in the way they tackle the problem. One important difference between societies is in the degree of government control of the economy, the extent to which government decides what, how, and for whom to produce. At the one extreme lies the completely planned or command economy, where all the economic decisions are taken by the government. At the other extreme lies the completely free market economy. In this type of economy, there is no government intervention at all. All decisions are taken by individuals and firms. In practice, all economies are a mixture of the two. So we have the mixed economy, which is an economy where economic decisions are made partly by the government and partly through the market. It is useful to analyze the extremes in order to put the different mixed economies of the real world into perspective. In fact, the mixture of the government and the market can be shown by the use of this spectrum diagram. Here, notice that there has been a general movement to the right along the spectrum since the early 1980s. In former communist countries, this has been a result of the abandonment of central planning and the adoption of a large measure of private enterprise. And in Western economies, it has been a result of deregulation of private industry and privatization. Let's move to discuss the informal sector as a third dimension. In all societies, many economic decisions are made whether individually or in groups, which involve neither the government nor the market. For example, many of the activities taking place in the home, such as cooking, cleaning, decorating, making clothes, gardening, taking care for children and elderly, and so on, can be seen as economic activities. There is an output, yet no money changes hands. These activities are taking place in the informal sector. The relative size of the informal sector varies from one country to another, and over time. In many developing countries, much of the economic activity in poorer areas involves subsistence production. This is where people grow their own food, build their own shelter, and so on. Now, let's talk about the command economy. It is usually associated with a socialist or communist economic system, where land and capital are collectively owned. The state plans the allocation of resources at three important levels. 1. It plans the allocation of resources between current consumption and investment for the future. By sacrificing some present consumption and diverting resources into investment, it could increase the economy's growth rate. At a microeconomic level, and talking here about the level number 2, it plans the output of each industry, the techniques that will be used, and the labor and other resources required by the firms. For that, the state will conduct some form of input-output analysis. All industries are seen as users of inputs from other industries and as producers of output for consumers. Level number 3. The state plans the distribution of output between consumers, and this will depend on the government's aims. Talking about assessment of the command economy, we should know that with central planning, the government could take an overall view of the economy. It could direct the nation's resources in accordance with specific national goals, such as high growth rates, avoiding unemployment, equally distributed national income, and so on. In practice, a command economy could achieve these goals only at considerable social and economic cost. The reasons are as follows. Complicated plans are likely to be costly to administer. If there is no system for prices, planning is likely to involve the inefficient use of resources. It is difficult to devise appropriate incentives to encourage workers to be more productive without a reduction in quality. Loss of individual liberty, shortages or surpluses that may occur. Most of these reasons were experienced in the former Soviet Union and the other Eastern Bloc countries. Now, let's talk about the free market economy. In a free market, individuals are free to make decisions. Consumers are free to decide what to buy with their incomes. The demand and supply decisions of consumers and firms are transmitted to each other through their effect on prices, through the price mechanism. The prices that result are the prices that firms and consumers have to accept. The price mechanism works as follows. Scenario number 1. If consumers decide they want more of a good, demand will exceed supply. The resulting shortage will cause the price of the good to rise. Hence, price will continue rising until the shortage has thereby been eliminated. Scenario number 2. If consumers decide they want less of a good, supply will exceed demand. The resulting surplus will cause the price of a good to fall. Hence, price will continue falling until the surplus has thereby been eliminated. This demand, where demand equals supply, of course, is called the equilibrium price. Remember that. Now, let's talk about the effect of changes in demand and supply. You should know that changes in demand or supply cause markets to adjust. Whenever such changes occur, the resulting disequilibrium will bring an automatic change in prices, thereby restoring equilibrium. The interdependence of markets. In fact, in goods market, demand for the good rises. This creates a shortage. This causes the price of the good to rise. This eliminates the shortage by reducing demand and encouraging firms to produce more. Concerning the factor market, the increased supply of the good causes an increase in the demand for factors of production used in making it. This causes a shortage of those inputs. This causes their prices to rise. And this eliminates their shortage by reducing demand and encouraging the suppliers of inputs to supply more. In a free market, people pursuing their own self-interest through buying and selling helps to minimize the problem of scarcity by encouraging the efficient use of society's resources in line with consumer wishes. From this type of argument, the following conclusion is often drawn by defenders of the free market. The pursuit of private gain results in the social good. Yet, in practice, a free market has several problems. In fact, competition between firms is often limited. Firms become inefficient. Power and property may be unequally distributed. Lack of information resulting in wrong decisions. Undesirable social firms practices. Macroeconomic instability. A free market economy may encourage selfishness, greed, materialism, and the acquisition of power. Now let's talk about the mixed economy. Because of the problems of both free market and command economies, all real-world economies are a mixture of the two systems. In a mixed market economies, the government may control the following. 1. Relative prices of goods and inputs by taxing or subsidizing them or by direct price controls. 2. Relative incomes by the use of income taxes, welfare payments, or direct controls over wages, profits, rent, etc. 3. The pattern of production and consumption by the use of legislation or by taxes and subsidies. 4. Macroeconomic problems of unemployment, inflation, lack of growth, balance of trade deficits, and exchange rate of fluctuation by the use of taxes and government expenditure, the control of bank lending and interest rates, the direct control of prices, and the control of the foreign exchange rates. In this chapter, we saw that the economic systems of different countries vary according to the extent to which they rely on the market or the government to allocate resources. At the one extreme, in a command economy, the state makes all the economic decisions. We also saw that a command economy has the advantage of achieving national economic goals. However, it is likely to be inefficient and bureaucratic. In a free market economy, decisions are made by the interaction of demand and supply. Moreover, in practice, all economies are some mixture of the market and the government intervention. So this is the end of the present chapter. The next chapter will be entitled The Nature of Economic Reasoning. Thank you very much for your attention.